Handle your high with Tadayoshi.
All right, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you on my show, Josh. I'm so glad you had the time to spare for me today. I appreciate you being on the show, so thanks.
Of course, Tad. It's my pleasure. Obviously, we've had a pretty long-standing relationship. You watched me grow up as an amateur, and now I'm reaching the top of the pro ranks, and I consider you family, Tad. You've known me long enough. You've supported me so much. To me, I always say, family isn't always blood. It's the people that are there for you. And I feel like you've always been there for me. You've always done right by me.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I have the same feelings myself. I think that our families are the ones we choose. People think that you don't choose family, but no, I would beg to differ that if my parents chose themselves, then we choose our extended families, and those people are the people that we care about, that we love, that we support, that we help, and sometimes they're people that need us as well. So it's good. So I thank you for that. I absolutely have loved watching you, grow up in the ranks, and we competed together when I was an amateur as well. And I know that you've done so awesome this last year. You've made so much wonderful progress, and I think a lot of people probably didn't. Kind of counted you out a little bit when you first came out, just because you weren't one of those guys who came across like without weak points. You had some weak stuff, and you brought a lot of stuff up, and you're continuing to do that. And so it's really wonderful to see that, because you remind me of somebody who's creating through sheer effort, and I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely sheer effort. Obviously, I have a tremendous work ethic. That can rival the best. I'm not a lazy individual. I'm willing to push hard. I have a high pain tolerance, obviously, as it takes to get here. But yeah, back to the people that have written me off. Even Justin Compton told me that at my pro debut. I turned pro the 2016 NPC Universe. 6 weeks later, I did my pro debut, and Justin Compton ended up winning that show, and I got fifth. And Justin told me, and I just remember this, everybody wrote you off as you turned pro as a master. And he said, I remember you in 2012, and I remember your conditioning at the North Americans. And I was like, no, he's going to do something. So Justin Compton, we've had a relationship as well, because, he's just to me, he's been a good guy, man. So I
like Justin, man. He's a good dude. I like him.
I watched your podcast with Justin, and, I love him, dude. Seriously, we've had, a little bit of a relationship, but we've always been supportive, and, he's the same person. You support him, he's going to support you. You talk down on him, he's going to talk back down on you. And that's not my type of mentality. So we've had a good relationship. But yeah, Justin even told me that people wrote me off. And then now look, nobody even thinks about or talks about where I turned pro.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't matter. Like the funny thing is, like with most sports, most activities like this, you're kind of judged by what you did last. Like, so to speak. Nobody cares how you got there. They care what you're doing now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so that's why it makes it really fascinating. It makes it really interesting, because people like yourself who are willing to continue to put the kind of consistent effort in and make improvements and not get discouraged. That's the most important thing. I think a lot of people get discouraged because they're not like the best when they turn pro. They don't start winning right away. They don't start. You still have to have some time to line up with the greatness that you want to become. And there's I want you to speak to this a little bit. That I was just going over this with somebody who I was judging, a female bodybuilder who I judged this last weekend at the Omaha Pro. She's a fantastic bodybuilder, but she didn't do as well as she wanted, I think, and it kind of made her a little down because as an amateur she was used to just winning, and now it's different. Because I'm sure that you kind of know how that feels a little bit. To be such a strong winner as an amateur, and then go to the pro ranks, and then have to almost like start over in a certain way. Like, how would you describe that?
Tad, honestly, to me, it was almost the opposite. As you know, I clipped along in the amateur ranks for 10 years, and even 2012, I was second, so close to my pro card. It took me another 4 years to finally get there. So. Really, yeah, regional, sure. Regional, I was the top. I won overall, that was kind of a slam dunk. But then on the national level, sure, I was finishing top 5 repeatedly, but that doesn't turn you pro. So I was not somebody that jumped right to the top of the amateur ranks and all of a sudden turned pro. When And I was working, I worked for George Farrell for quite a while, 3 years. And George told me at the 2012 North Americans, when you were there and I got second and everybody said I should have won, he told me, when you're ready to be pro, you'll turn pro. So guess what? When I finally turned pro, I was a pro, Tad. So, I mean, I jumped in, got top 5. I got 5th in my pro debut. Ended up getting overlooked at Kansas City and ended up getting a 9th. But ever since, I mean, I've been top 5 in almost every pro show I've done. Which, obviously I'm not winning yet, but I'm so damn close now. But anyways, kind of my point is, I had to build my physique as an amateur till once I finally turned pro, I actually looked like a pro.
That's kind of what I was getting at. A lot of times, some people that journey is a little shorter, and some people that journey is a little longer. I think for you, what it would take to make your physique pro is what it would take to make, for the most part, make your physique successful as a pro. That's not the case for everybody. Some people a lot of competitors turn pro, but what it took them to turn pro, what it takes them to be a successful pro, are still some growth, still some things they got to evolve into.
Yeah, it's just, where do you grow? Do you grow as an amateur, or do you somehow get to the pro ranks a little bit easier than I did, and then you got to build as a pro, like you just said. So, I mean, I kind of built as an amateur, and then once I got to the pro ranks, I was a pro physique. I still had weaknesses, sure, and I still do, but I'm improving on those weaknesses every show, and I'm consistently getting better. So they're starting to see me, and now I'm not just a fluke. I mean, I'm an Olympian, so I can't be a fluke, but I have been building, and every show I'm showing up better. I'm getting more refined. I'm getting, my weaknesses are improving. My waist is getting smaller. My external rotation is getting better. My arms are growing. Like it's just constant improvement, which has to be slow and continuous to be done healthy anyways, right?
Sure. Exactly. What would you like? I'm curious from your perspective, and I kind of think I already know the answer to this, but what is your perspective on what it takes for all those guys out there who want to turn pro, whether they're young or whether they're older, masters candidate or whether they're not, what would you say, what does it really take?
Man, it takes 100% consistency, especially if you're not the genetically elite, which I know I'm not. And everybody talks about, I don't have the best shape, I don't have the best structure, I don't have the best genetics.
Somehow you're winning.
It takes work ethic and it takes consistency. So, these guys, okay, I love Sean Roden. He gave me he fired me up in Toronto telling me he's watching me. I mean, really gave me good props. But you take somebody like Sean Roden, which obviously we know about, we saw the guest posing pictures and all that. Dude, he can get in shape in a heartbeat. So he can take months off of the gym. Us basically not genetically elite cannot. I mean, I can count I can count the days of workouts that I've missed over the last 13 years without the injuries on one hand. So, I mean, it takes consistency. You can't expect to be like, I'm going to miss a couple of weeks, which means I'm not going to eat like a bodybuilder and expect to make the consistent improvements. Not me. I've had to live 365, 24/7 like a bodybuilder for the last 13 years to get where I'm at. And now I've learned balance. So I don't ever let family suffer or sacrifice, but I eat when I need to eat. I train when I need to train. I always put my family first, but it doesn't mean that I can't take my meals with me to the soccer games or jiu-jitsu practice. So, again, you can't take things for granted thinking that, okay, I'm going to start prep 12 weeks out and all of a sudden I'm going to miraculously respond. Fuck no. It's consistent day-to-day grind. Every day is improving for the next day. You miss a day, and guess what? I lost a day, Tad.
That's right. I like that. When you talk about balance, what does that mean to you in body? Because that's hard, man. Like I think a lot of competitors struggle with balance, especially at your level where you're competing as a pro, and it takes so much out of your life to get on stage like that in the kind of condition that you want to be in, and with the kind of body that you want to have up there. How do you prioritize yourself so that you can have that balance with your family and your friends and your life and your work and your bodybuilding? How do you do that?
I'm a machine, Tad. No, I mean, in all seriousness, like John Meadows, I'll get back to this, but it's funny, like John Meadows traveled to the UK, and John Meadows is my coach. I love him. I mean, he's more than a coach. He's a mentor. He's a friend. He's somebody I want to live my lifestyle like, because he's just such a good guy. But, John traveled to the UK and he didn't sleep for like 24 hours. And he's all, can we talk tomorrow? I mean, I haven't slept for 24 hours. I said, John, I haven't slept for 5 months. But you're a machine. I'm a mere mortal. So basically, and it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of funny because that's the way that I think of myself. I think of myself as a machine. I run everything so systematically. But when we're talking about balance, I feel like prioritizing my family and keeping the events and knowing when, I'm swimming with the kids in the pool, or I'm taking them to jiu-jitsu, or, I'm taking them to soccer practice, or we got soccer games. So me, I do what I need to do, and that's why I'm talking about like I'm a machine. I do what I need to do as far as training and as far as eating, but I just do it. I don't think about it. So now I think about my family, and that basically keeps my distraction. So I'm so structured as an individual. I know what I need to eat. I know what I need to train. So I no longer have to think about it, if that makes sense to you.
It makes perfect sense.
So basically I can spend my time with my family not thinking about when I need to do, because guess what? I'm eating at 6 a.m. Guess what? I'm eating at 9 a.m. I'm eating at 12 p.m. So now I don't have to think about it because I'm so routine, Monday through Saturday. I mean, basically 7 days a week. I'm so routine, so I can prioritize my family, and that's my balance. My balance is my other lifestyle. My bodybuilding lifestyle is so structured that I can work that around every event that I have to go to. So that's what I mean, kind of like, I'm a machine. I run so systematic. I run so structured that there is no chaos. For me, non-structure is chaos.
Right. Well, it's kind of funny you say, you talk about you don't think, you just do. I've been telling my clients this for years. I'm saying, look, the number one trait of champions that I know is their ability not to think about shit. They just do what they know to do. They do it, and then they fix. They do. They fix. They do. They become this, like you said, they become very machine-like of sorts. And what it does is it gives them the ability not to second guess themselves. Because that kills athletes come second guessing whether they're doing their program right, whether they're on the right path, what's going to happen, whether they're going to be in shape. No, you got to make certain assumptions, right? Like, I love that. Like, how did you come to that? Did this something that you just came to naturally, or did somebody teach you this, or how did you come to this philosophy?
Honestly, I don't think anybody really taught me anything. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot through trials and tribulations. Not that I don't pick up things from other people. Okay, I'm not trying to sound cocky, but I've learned through trials and tribulations. I apply things like you just said. I apply things. I take notes, and then I do, and then I watch. And I watch myself, unbiased, see what I need to improve on. That's why I hardly ever ask for like judges' feedback. Sometimes I do, but I can look at myself and look at the guys that I'm next to and see what I need to do. And guess what? I'm going to take that and I'm going to improve on that. So, I wasn't really taught that. I just, again, like I said, for me, if I'm not structured, it's chaos for me. So, I've learned that I guess if I learned it from anybody in the very, very beginning was Jay Cutler. I had his CEO muscle book, and I started taking notes when I went to the bathroom, what if I went type 1 or type 2. Seriously, I started taking so many notes that it just become, very meticulous. And then that's just the way that I kind of started living every aspect of life was structured. I just kind of went with it. For me, that's the calmest approach.
It sounds like you become a student of yourself, so you can master this thing called bodybuilding that you're applying yourself to. Perfect. I think that's a great way to describe it. And absolutely, I'm a big believer that we learn everything profound from our experience, not from books or what somebody tells us. Those things guide us. Those things are wonderful. They're helpful, but we learn all the important shit through our life experience. It teaches us if we pay attention. That's right. If we pay attention, we listen. And some of us are paying attention, and some of us aren't.
Yeah, exactly.
How would you when you look at the priority? You talked about priorities. How do you, if you were to give me your top 4 priorities, how would you order them, and what order would they be in? in your life?
Well, number one is to provide. Obviously, I mean, my wife hasn't worked in over 8 years. She's basically been able to keep the kids home. I mean, our son is going into first grade, so just finished kindergarten.
Nice.
So, I mean, for the first basically 6 years, I wanted to provide. I'm a provider. I'm the old school. The man is the provider. I mean, basically, I don't want my wife to even worry about finances. I mean, basically, I mean, I'm the provider. So number one is to provide for my family, at any and all costs. So that's number one. Obviously, number two is try to find the balance, which I have done pretty well, of work versus home. Trying to spend as much time, trying to make as many kids events as I can. So, I mean, I'd say that's basically really priority number two. Number one is always to provide, because that's what we have to do. I mean, I have to provide for my family. I'm the man. I'm the one that basically has to make sure that we have a place to live. We're not struggling. Because again, everybody knows that. So that falls to number three, really, which would be bodybuilding. I'm good at it. I love it, but I would never let bodybuilding take away from my family. So, I mean, everybody knows how much it costs to compete. Even as a pro, it normally costs a lot more to get ready for a competition than you win, even if you do win.
Right.
So that's where basically you're talking about priorities. So I hate to see competitors that live basically paycheck to paycheck, just to compete. I mean, I understand there's a realization and you love it and you got to do it, but if it ever hurt my family, I would not do it. So if it financially was a burden for me to do this, then I wouldn't do this. So back to priority number one, to provide. I've done well enough. I work hard enough that I'm able to provide for my family and be able to cover all bodybuilding costs without hurting my family. So, I mean, in order of priorities, that's what I would say the three, and I would say those are the reasons why.
That's good. I like that. So now you're, just so that people know, because I know you're wearing the shirt. I can see it. You're sponsored by Allmax still, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I love that company, by the way, Canadian company. They have really wonderful. One of the things I like about the Canadian companies, self companies, that is unlike that of the U.S. companies, and there's a couple of U.S. companies I like, of course, is that the Canadian companies, the standards for their products are much higher than here. The standards that we have here are just self-imposed, and so most people don't realize that. But in Canada, it's not quite the same. They actually have different standards. And they actually, Allmax, I've known them for years. They used to send me lots of stuff. I love their products. And so I know you've been with them for a while too, right?
Yeah, I've been with Allmax over 7 years, Tad. I mean, I started as just a standard amateur sponsorship, basically, product sponsorship. And only really because I fell in love, and I mean, obviously, you've been around a long time. You know Gregoria Toyin.
Yep, I know Gregory.
Yeah, so Greg was like a big brother to me. I mean, I started personal training. I was a plumber, a little bit of back history. I was a plumber for 10 years. 2008, the housing market crashed, and 2006, I started bodybuilding. So when 2008 housing market crashed, after 10 years of plumbing, I got laid off. So I was going to the gym, I was collecting unemployment, and I had a bunch of people. I was already competing as a bodybuilder for 2 years. So many people were like, hey, can you train me? Can you train me? I was like, okay. So, I started training people and then got the feedback that was like, that's the best workout I ever had. So that's what led me into becoming a personal trainer, is because I realized, shit, I'm good at this. Plus I love it. So I'm going to be very passionate about this. So that's how I got into personal training. Greg was like a big brother to me, and he had a couple Max Muscle supplement stores that he made personal training studios. So I got my business license after working at 24 Hour Fitness for like 2 years. I got my business license. I started training clients out of his facilities. So that was the beginning. That was basically 2009. That's pretty much when Allmax came to the United States. And I tried their chocolate peanut butter Isoflex and immediately was like, whoa, that is the best thing I've ever tried. So I basically, I had a pretty full client schedule. So I started telling my people, this is the best protein I've ever tried. So now I started selling a shit ton of product for Greg. So every time he would order a product from Kevin Coaheaven, which is basically the director of U.S. sales, which and I mean everybody knows Kevin is like a big brother to me too. I mean he's the reason I got signed. He's the reason I'm there. I mean I truly believe in the product, but it's become a family type of atmosphere, and a lot is because of Kevin. So every time Greg would place an order with Kevin, he would always say, "You got to do something for Josh, even if it's just a product sponsorship." I mean he is selling the shit out of this stuff. Because I truly believed in it. I wasn't looking for a sponsorship. I was just saying this is the best thing ever, and you guys got to try this. So that's how it started. And again, I stand by the company. They don't, just like you said, Canadian company, but they don't list. There's no proprietary blends. Every ingredient is listed. It's third party tested. Have very great quality products. But that's how my sponsorship started. It started just like that. For 5 years was basically just like that. And I know how hard it is to get a sponsorship. Plus, I'm a very loyal individual. When people stand by me, I stand by them. And then now, finally, I mean, I'm getting pretty good compensation from Allmax. They're using me in all their marketing now. I mean, I'm on the rise, and they're taking me with them.
So, like, this is a good topic because one of the questions I get a lot from athletes, especially now, as the sport has grown so much in all these different divisions, is how do I become a sponsor athlete? And you and I both know that being a sponsor athlete means the company pays you. It doesn't mean that you just get product, right? Like you can be a product sponsor athlete, but that's a little bit different. What people really want is companies to support them financially in some meaningful way. And what would you tell some of these athletes who are really wanting that, but they don't know where to go? How do they do it? Like, tell them what your advice would be.
Well, I mean, really, I was a product sponsored athlete for really 5 years. I mean, this is my second pro year, and I mean, a lot of it is basically making sure that you have the interactions, really, because I mean, a lot of it's based on social media now. The influencers that you have to stand by a product. People have to know that you're not trying to sell a product. You're not jumping from company to company saying, this is the best product I've ever used. Now I'm with this company. This is the best product I've ever used. So, I mean, there's got to be some loyalty to build some credibility.
Some credibility, yeah.
Credibility, yeah, sorry. So, yeah, I mean, you got to have credibility, and you really got to stand by it. And when I talk about the products, people see the passion because it's real. It's real, Tad. So, I mean, number one, before you even think about going to a company, you got to believe in the product because otherwise it's not going to come across legit. Then, number two is making sure that you have enough influencers. I mean, really a lot of it is social media based. I mean, the first year I got my pro contract, it was I obviously I'm not going to say numbers, but it was very minimal. I didn't have much influence. Over the year, as my pro career started building, and now people start knowing who I am and start following me. Now I have more influence on them. Plus, I mean, with me, as we talked about already a little bit, I'm not the genetically gifted. So those products I need. Some people don't need. Some people think it's just basically performance enhancing drugs that are going to build a body. Genetically elite, maybe, obviously, I mean, we know what goes into the diet and the training portion of it, but guys like me, I need that supplementation. I mean, I need that pre-workout to really help with the mind-muscle connection. I need the carbohydrate products to fuel my workout. So I'm more somebody that people are more relatable to, because the people that use the products are more like me. They're not that I pick up a weight and I grow with nothing. I don't even eat and all of a sudden grow. That's not how it works for me. So, I mean, again, I kind of back to, I do jump around. You know me a little bit, Tad. I kind of talk around, but I always come back to it. I mean, you got to stand by the product. It has to be something that you can truly say why you feel what you feel. And then, I mean, how much are you influenced on social media really is the way that it boils down to nowadays.
Have you found that especially this last year where you've done so well at the shows, have you found that did you find it really jumped your social media up quite a bit?
Yeah. The first year I did Vancouver. So I did Vancouver 2017. In 2017, I did a Vancouver Pro. July of 2017, I had like 2.7 thousand followers. And now, I mean, basically, just less than 2 years later, I'm over 30,000.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And I mean, that's all organic. And, again, I'm still like, I'm getting more and more and more now, because even last year I did very well in competitions. I made the Olympia, and still people didn't really pay a lot of attention to me. This year I'm definitely more on the radar, but people that follow me, I feel like are real fans and are real followers. And what I mean by this, Tad, is I'm not into drama. I'm not into negativity. I know that sells, but that's not me. So, I hope to put out content that people can use. They follow along my progress. I mean, I get such good direct messages, and I respond to every one of them. And that's the type of blue collar bodybuilder that I've known to become. I mean, I appreciate all the support that I get. It really means a lot to me. When somebody tells me that I motivate them or I inspire them, I take that to heart, because that's what fuels me to want to be better.
Absolutely.
So those are basically, I might not have a big following, but I feel like I have really real fans and followers.
You don't need, it's my personal opinion that you don't need thousands and thousands and thousands of followers to have a successful social media campaign or have a social media presence. You need, and I've seen the data on this, and this is a little bit of my nerdy self coming out, but you need 100 raving fans. That's all you need, 100. And when you have that, you can monetize that. When you move up to around 1,000, all of a sudden the numbers get really interesting, because, but all you need is 100 to be successful. But what does it take to get 100 raving fans? It takes several thousand followers. Not everybody who follows a person is going to be a raving fan. You want those are 100 people that believe in you, believe in what you say. They resonate with you. They have, this is anything you put out, they want to hear, they want to listen to, they want to buy, so to speak. And while I don't think it's all about consuming and buying, I really hate that part about the focus of our social media, because you'll notice, I rarely, if ever, even sell anything. I want to add value first. I want, and I know that's the way the approach that you have. And I like the approach that you have as well, because I take the same approach when it comes to companies. I've been offered many times in my career to represent certain companies, and I've always turned most of them down because I didn't like their products, period. And I tell even the ones that I come to me now, and the ones that I go, even when I go to a company and say, hey, I love this product, I only want to talk about the products that I like. And so, because I want to always come across credible, and you mentioned that in some of what you were talking about, was you always want to be credible and authentic. And I think that speaks volumes, because it's not just about a paycheck, or it's not just about, this is truly who you are. I like that. That's the approach that I took and have taken in my career, and it has benefited me so greatly. And I know it's benefiting you too. But it doesn't surprise me, because I've known you for a long time, and I don't believe there's mistakes in this universe, that people meet for very good reasons, and we always meet because we resonate with each other. When you don't resonate with somebody, and I've always thought highly of you, because I know you're an honest person, you're sincere, and you're authentic.
3 words: character, values, and morals. So, those are the people that I respect. I respect men of character. We got a huge camaraderie with a lot of the bodybuilders. It's the guys with character that say things, out of context, that basically don't need to be seen. They give you a compliment for no reason. That's what makes me feel good. Like, oh, wow. So character, values, and morals. Those are the people that I want to surround myself with, and that's it. I don't need the negativity like we talked about. I'm all about basically trying to build people up, not tear them down. So that's why I think we resonate very well. I know you're a man of character. I know your values and your morals. And a lot of it, it's family based. So for me, those are the only people that I really want to associate with at all, Tad.
Oh, of course. I think and naturally, I agree 100%. I actually think that if people look towards character and these kinds of qualities first, instead of accomplishments, because I think a lot of times we look towards accomplishments, like, oh, he's Mr. Olympia, or he's this or this, or he's this, and then automatically have credibility. And that's not the case for me. I agree with you 100% that. I just said this. I said this a lot.
but I just said this the other day to basically John De La Rosa, which we've become friends. I mean, I'm super supportive of him.
John's awesome.
And, you know, basically he made a post, and I said, you know, I want people to talk about I want my kids to talk about their father as a great guy, not a great bodybuilder. And that's what I want to be known for. And John responded back and was like, I can't wait to meet them and tell them how awesome their dad was.
John's a good guy. That's because John has character and he has values and he has morals. I know, because I've known John for many years, and he's one of the pros currently that I'm so happy is doing well. Finally, is starting to achieve some of the success that I know he's capable of, and he'll continue to achieve more. But I'm so happy for him. But absolutely, I agree 100%. You're another one of those people. I'll tell you who you remind me of. From a physique standpoint, I was going to mention this, and I wasn't sure if I was going to mention it or not, but I'm going to mention it because it's true. I see you like the next Dorian Yates. Like, that's the kind of physique quality that I see. If you keep moving your physique up, you come in like unprecedentedly hard as nails and fucking lean and hard and striated. And it's that hardness and it's the quality of the muscle that I see on stage that we don't see as often, but it's different. It's dense and it's thick and it's good muscle. And that's the stuff, that's what I think people loved about Dorian, and I see that same quality. He had his weaknesses too. You know, his biceps, he had some weaknesses too, but he became Mr. Olympia through sheer effort. I see guys like him, Branch Warren, and yourself are very similar, because not the best genetics, but man, they took it and they played to their strengths, and through sheer effort, they were able to create something really wonderful. And that's how I see you going. So I'm really excited to see what's coming up. So like, how are you moving forward with this year and next year? What is in your head? Just curious. Like, share.
Determination. You know, honestly, you talked about discouragement. I've had my share of discouragement. And sure I have, but in any sport, but in our sport, you have to have a short-term memory.
Amen to that.
You know, you can use it as fuel for your fire, sure, but you can't be discouraged. You can't look back and keep hounding like, oh man, I should have got this placing. Yeah, but what about, so now you show up improved, guess what? You'll finally be rewarded. I've been told by Jay Cutler, Sean Roden, various other individuals, but people that have been there, be patient. Be patient. So me is straight determination now. Obviously, knowing I turned pro as a master, and knowing that, you know, I turned 40 this month. I turned 40 in a couple weeks. So
congratulations.
But I'm still improving. I'm improving my physique. So, you know, people say, oh yeah, you know, I mean, you know, again, wrote me off. So the reason I've been staying so consistent is I do feel like if I even thought of taking time off, I would become irrelevant, Tad. You know, no matter what. So guess what? So now every show that and you know this, and everybody that follows me know this, every show that I show up at, I show up improved. I'm better. You know, I might have a little bit more size, a little bit more condition, a little bit more density. So like I'm improving. And I was even told, you know, somebody told me this, that even Steve Weinberger really said, I love the guys that just show up, improve, consistent. You get 2 pounds here, 3 pounds there, drier, fuller, harder. You know, the guys that put on 20 pounds, what are they going to do next?
Right.
You know, so basically, so I am showing up, making sure that every time I step on stage, there's an improvement. You know, it might not be dramatic size. At my age and my genetic potential, I'm not going to get dramatically bigger, but I'm chipping away, which means, again, that's why I told you, I don't feel like I can miss a workout. If I miss a workout, I feel like it puts me a day behind.
Sure.
So that's where it comes to the determination. Honestly, I had some discouragement this year. Last year, I got 4th at the New York Pro. This year, I showed up in New York with a much better physique. I mean, I was drier. I was harder. I've been doing vacuums for 12 weeks leading up to that show every morning. My waist was tight as it's ever been. My conditioning was second to none, and I slipped to 7th. I was discouraged for one of the first times as a pro for sure, because I was rising, and then felt like I got kicked in the balls. You know, but again, okay, short-term memory. So then I'm like, all right, I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to come in so nasty peeled in 1 week between New York and the Cal. I'm going to come in so fucking crazy that I'm going to make them pay attention, like, holy shit, you know. And so I did. I came into the Cal, ended up third, and that was basically, you know, I mean, I don't know, a controversial third. I mean, a lot of people had me placing higher. Could have been either way, but again, I don't care. I'm never going to be negative about it. Guess what? I'm going to try to improve for the next show. So then 1 week later, I came into Toronto, which was just 2 weekends ago, and everybody was like, holy shit, that's the best package I've ever brought to the stage. So, I mean, you know, in terms of condition, fullness, again, third place. A lot of people had me, you know, I hope I get in trouble, but even Neil Hill and Flex Lewis, and Neil coaches John, said they wouldn't have been upset if it went me then John, because it's apples and oranges physique-wise. But when you see me in the skin, it was like, you know, Neil was like, I couldn't stop looking at you just because I'm so nasty in the skin as far as that graininess and that Dorian look. So, you know, again, so I slipped a third. You know, I mean, again, a little discouraged, you know, maybe. But now, guess what? Next time I show up on stage, I'm going to be more improved. But, you know, after those finishes, you know, thinking that, man, you know, I really, really wanted to win. We all want to win. But I feel like I'm so close, and I'm getting better and better and better. And, you know, how come I'm not getting it? I had that thought in my head for the first time ever. You know, it's like, no matter what I do, you know, maybe I won't get a win. Maybe I won't, you know, I'm not amongst the elite that I thought momentarily, Dad. then I was like, no, shit, I ain't done. You know, I'm not done. I'm getting back. I'm going to hit it hard. I'm going to show up with a fuller physique because I'm already in condition. So, you know, I mean, even like Flex Lewis, Neil Hill, and Sean Roden were the three in Toronto that really for the first time talked to me, and I was like, holy shit, they know who I am. I'm a fan of the sport, Tad. So I mean, these guys are still idols to me. I don't feel like I'm even on the same peer level with these guys, even though I kind of am. But I don't feel it because I'm such a fan. I'm like, holy shit, I've seen these guys for so many years, and they're talking to me. So Lex Lewis told me backstage, he was like, man, I hope you keep going. You're so close. You just are just looking better and better. And so I was like, you know, Flex, I don't really know what I'm going to do. You know, that was right after we got off stage in the evening show, and, you know, kind of was, again, just thought I'd be a little higher placing, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling, you know, I've been never be negative about it. There's nothing nothing wrong with feeling that, you know, you should have got a higher placing, or you feel like you should. But again, you can't live in the past. So then walking down the hallway is where basically Sean Roden walked into me. He was like, you look so nasty at the Cal last weekend. You know, he was like, I'm watching you. And I was like, holy shit. You know, Sean Roden is watching me. And now all of a sudden he likes one of my Instagram pictures. And I'm like, wow, okay. So now that got me to the point, I'm no longer discouraged. Now I'm fired up. So relit my fire. So I'm coming, I'm let it out right now. I'm coming to Chicago July 6th, and I'm coming to win. I mean, I'm going to bring an improved physique. My condition is so hard right now that now I can grow into the show. So I'll be bigger. I'll be just as hard. I'll be just as dry. There's no doubt that I will show an improved physique. So every time I step on stage, I'm determined to show a better Josh Wade. That's all I can do, Tad. It doesn't matter who shows up. I can't control somebody else's genetic shape or what they bring, but I can be the best Josh Wade possible. And every time I step on stage, I'm determined to show that.
I think that's the best that anybody could ever do. But I think what your experience. It's kind of funny. It's wonderful to really sort of hear you recant some of your experiences, especially at these shows, sort of coming into your own of sorts, because that's essentially what's going on. I think sometimes first others see in us the things first before we do. sometimes. And I know what they're seeing. This is what I'm telling you before, that what they're seeing is they see the potential that you have, that you're so close to, that you're just working there. It's so exciting for anyone, especially because I know Sean Roden's a fan of the sport too. So is Neil. We all are, because at some level, because we love it so much. And if there's one thing that a fan of the sport loves seeing great competitors becoming great. It's like, there's nothing more exciting than seeing somebody that everybody didn't know, so to speak, and now all of a sudden you can literally see them show by show getting better and better, and you're like, wow, man, I hope that guy doesn't get discouraged. I hope he hangs in there, because what's happening to him is really fucking cool. and I mean, if like you said, I think it's perfectly said that it's okay to feel a little discouraged, but just don't stay there, because that'll hold you back. You know, you're right, because you said it perfectly. You're not done yet. It's only be sad if you're done. Right. So when you, so I'm glad to hear you coming to the Chicago Pro. I'm glad to hear that because of course I'm here in Chicago. I'll see you there. And I'm glad, but I think it's a great show for you to come into. I don't know who's going to be there, but no matter what, I don't think that would the way things are looking. I don't think it should be a concern. I think you should just go and come in here and do exactly what you planned, and I think you'll get a good result. I really do. I really do.
I agree. I mean, all I can do is show up with a better package, and they're going to keep seeing that. And I'm so close. There's no doubt. They are rewarding me for improvements, and that's what they want to see. They want to see guys that are working their way up. There's nothing wrong with basically somebody. I mean, if somebody shows up genetic freak and it's like, holy shit, okay, this guy, then this is deserving. But they like to see people work their way up. I mean, bottom line is, you get out what you put in to almost anything.
That's right.
So that's what I'm bringing. I mean, I don't really care. I have no idea who's showing up. I really don't care, because it's not going to matter.
Where are you on the points? Are you?
I'm fifth right now. Because again, I thought I should have got something. I'm not looking in the past, but New York might have set me a little higher. So basically, I have 2 third-place finishes in a row. I'm fifth with 10 points. So I want to get in with a true win, sure. But I listened to another Heavy Muscle Radio, Dave Palumbo. This was pretty funny, and I love this, because right after the June 3rd. Right after Toronto, this is what Dave said. He was like, if I was Josh Wade, I'd say, fuck everyone. I'm going to do every show, and I'm going to make the Olympics.
That's right. That's what I would do, too. So
guess what, Dad? That's what I'm doing. I want to get there on a win. I feel like I've been so close. I might have been deserving of it, but I'm just knocking on the doorstep of that win.
I'll tell you. Go ahead.
Whether I get the win, I'm doing Chicago, I'm doing Vancouver, and basically those 2 shows should solidify my Olympia, and I'm making the Olympia again this year.
Absolutely, and I think you'll doing what you're doing is going to more than make you worthy of it. More than you're already there. You already deserve to be up there. But you got to put the nails in the coffin. I would. Yeah. I think it's a great. What now? I'm curious. So, like, from in your mind. Forget about the Olympia, forget about all these other shows for just a second. I'm just curious on, when you look at your physique today, do you have an image of what you want to create on stage?
Yeah, I sure do. And I'll tell you what, man, I really don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet. But the judges that saw me in Toronto, I know there's some of them that are going to see me in Chicago. And they gave me great feedback about basically my shoulder mobility and how I can't really open my lats from the back. And my back is one of my strongest muscle groups, but I can't pose it properly. That's already changed in 2 weeks. I finally found somebody to help me out with the therapies that I need to basically loosen up my rotator cuff muscles. So my external rotation, I guess I just fucking let the cat out of the bag. But I'm going to tell you what, people, when I show up, and I'm going to fuck it. You know me, I'm an open book. So when I show up in Chicago, these guys are going to be like, how the fuck did he put 3-4 inches on his lats in 5 weeks? I can finally open my scapulas, Tad. So now my front double bicep and my back double bicep are going to be nasty poses. I win from the side almost all the time. The depth of my hamstrings, the graininess of the side of my leg, my glutes shredded from the side. Side shots, I almost always win. Now I'm going to start winning the front and back shots. So basically, I'm doing the things that I never put enough work into. because I didn't know that it can really be improved, honestly. So now it's going to be, the biggest change is not going to be weight training related. And I'll tell you now, I'm pounding the weight still. I'm going to improve muscle over the next 2 weeks before I have to start cutting calories back down and make sure I come in shredded. But I'm working on the improvements that should have been made, that could have been the reason between first and third at these last 2 shows.
Sure.
And I got great feedback from a couple of the judges at Chicago. A couple of judges at Toronto and a couple of judges at the Cal, and was like, I need to find somebody that knows how to do this, and I did. And I'm not kidding you. And basically, in less than 2 weeks, my arms look bigger because I'm posing them properly. My lats fully expand. My scapulas are no longer stuck to my rhomboids. A dramatic difference in pictures in 2 weeks.
Wow, that's awesome.
So you're going to see improvements.
When you now, in terms of that's like so in terms of improvements that you're going to add to your physique beyond that take longer beyond these next couple shows. How do you see, like, what vision do you have for your physique? I like asking this question because I have my own opinions about, like, when I look at people's physiques and how they should improve, but what matters most is what you think, because you're the one going to do the work.
I'm going to say what I want to say, what I believe, and then I want to hear your opinion on it.
Sure.
So anyways, I mean, basically looking at the last couple shows, I have very high vastus lateralis insertions. So I'm always trying to work on the outer sweep, but you look at the pictures from the front and my legs were not overpowered by anybody. My separation was better than everybody, but so my symmetry is almost as good as I can be, but I need to improve everywhere to keep that symmetry in check. Everybody knows I have some of the longest arms for a 5'9" individual. So for the last 3 years, that's been one of the biggest priorities. Work on my outer sweeps because my waist is not the narrowest, and that's improved. Working on basically the fullness and the depth of my arms have really improved. So everything that I try to improve on has improved. It just takes time. So really, looking at my physique, I need to, besides the posing aspect of it, which I'm working on every day now, even more than I've ever worked on, to make sure I'm presenting my physique in the best of its ability. I still am pounding the arms. The arms are the only thing that, maybe behind a lot of the other competitors because their arms are shorter than mine. In all honesty, I don't really see anywhere else I need to improve except for everywhere.
Yeah, I like that. Good. Well, I would. The way I would like to see your physique continue get thicker and thicker and thicker, so you have this really Dorian-esque sort of presence on stage as well. That's what I would like to see. It would just complete the whole picture. That's the way. And I always look at, like, when I look at competitors, I look at what makes this person stand out, and then just magnify that to the nth degree if you can, because that's the wow factor that you bring to the stage, and you want to really, really sort of nail that home, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I just said.
Exactly.
Everywhere, right?
Right, exactly. Specifically for me, what was that?
It is a matter of basically building the density everywhere, which is just what you just talked about.
Right.
So,
exactly.
I mean, as far as symmetry, I feel like I'm pretty much there symmetrically, and I need to keep building everywhere, which is the primary focus. If I see some muscle group growing a little faster than another, then I prioritize the other muscle groups. So I'm again, that's part of the sport. That's why I love the sport of bodybuilding so much, is because we can improve. We look at ourselves and we can focus on something and watch it grow. I mean, that's something you can't get in a lot of sports.
It's what I talk about when I talk about the wonderful nature of this life, which is we're creators by nature. We create our lives, we create our experiences, and we, in the sport of bodybuilding, create our bodies. And it's really, really kind of a neat thing. Now, you're such a nice guy, and before I'll share this with everybody, before we got on this line, you were worried about eating your meal while we were doing our interview, and of course I'm like, yeah, of course eat your meal, man, who cares? So, which is be a great thing to I would love to hear, like, tell everybody a little bit about what your diet looks like because it's obviously, I know that diet has everything to do with the kind of condition you come in on. But is there something that you do differently, or that you think you do differently than other competitors? Because you definitely have a grainy, hard, and you've always had this. Ever since I've always known you, you've always had great conditioning. You're really hard and dense, your muscularity, and but you do have it's the kind of condition that we like to see on stage. So tell, like, what does your diet look like? Do you find it to be different? What kind of process do you use?
No, and I'll get to some details, but do I think it's different? No. Do I think I'm more meticulous than any other individual on the planet? Yeah. And kind of what I mean by that is, I feel like conditioning is the one thing that we can control. Guys that show up out of shape, I feel like there's absolutely no excuse for that. The conditioning is what we can control. We can suffer harder, we can push harder, we can pull harder. Obviously, we got to be smart. We got to know when we got to increase calories if the body's slowing down, metabolism is slowing down. I understand that we start losing fullness, and now we need to basically, increase just for a brief period of time to get the metabolism revved up, increase leptin levels, increase thyroid function. So, that I understand. But conditioning is one thing we can control. I can't control the amount of muscle tissue I have yet. I am constantly improving that, right? But when I bring it into a show, all I can bring in is the amount of muscle tissue I already have, correct?
Correct.
But what I can bring in is make sure that I come in shredded. I can make sure that my conditioning is on point, which means I'm willing to suffer harder if that's what it takes. If I'm not making the changes, what I mean is basically I'm more meticulous than any other individual on the planet, which means you cannot be more perfect than I am. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but what I am saying is I am as perfect as possible, which means you can only be as perfect as me.
I get what you're saying. So you follow your plan to a T with no...
To a T.
To a T.
If it's 300 grams of rice, and I got to give my wife, Shannon Wade, so much credit because she prepares all my meals. She is the biggest supporter in the world for me. And I say what I just said about being as perfect as you can be, I feel like I have the most supportive, most perfect wife out there possible, which means you can have just as perfect of a wife, but I don't feel like you can have more of a perfect of a wife because I feel that's what she is. You understand?
I understand. She's at the highest level for you.
When it comes to my dieting, that's kind of my point. My point is, if you feel like it's absolute perfection, then you can be just as good, but not better.
Right.
So that's just the way that I see things. So that's the way that I diet. I've always been that meticulous. I eat on time. We already talked about structure keeping away chaos. Well, that's it. I normally eat between clients, between my 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock client. So I'm eating at 3:50 or 3:55. So, Tad, I'm 5 minutes late, buddy.
Well, on my clock, you're not.
Okay. But anyways, so yeah, now talking about diet, do I do things differently? No, not really. I find the carbs and I find the food that I respond to the best. So for me, it's basically oatmeal and white rice are my only carb sources. But what I'm doing right now, again, this is where I feel it's important for competitors to be ready early. I was ready. I was shredded. Basically, pretty much 4.7% body fat on the DEXA scale. 3 weeks before New York. So guess what? I turned cardio off because I have no fat left to lose. So now that my body's ready, now I can start increasing carbs, finding my best look of fullness, because what's the purpose of me dieting harder down when I got no fat left to lose?
Right.
So get ready early. And, it doesn't mean you got to be dramatically early, but the more early ready I am, the better I get between shows. Why do you think people see I keep getting harder and harder and harder between shows? Because I'm ready early. So now my metabolism is cranking so fast that I got to keep feeding it to make sure that all I'm doing is stoking my metabolism farther. But now I'm filling up my muscle tissue. Now I'm feeding the body. Now my metabolism is revving harder. So now if there's any fat left, it's getting rid of, but I'm keeping the fullness of the muscle through the extra carbs. So right now, basically, this is my first whole food post-workout meal. I finished my workout at like 2:45, and I had my post-workout shake. 2 scoops of Isoflex. I blend a cup of oatmeal and a cup of mixed berries into that post-workout shake. And then this is my first whole food meal: 6 ounces of 96 ground beef and 2 cups of white rice. because I'm already so lean, I'm able to eat and keep my carbs close to 700 grams a day right now, Tad. For at least the 2 weeks after, since I was in such good shape, I wanted to make sure that we can try to build a little bit of muscle tissue. I can't get fat that fast because I eat clean food. So after Toronto, I knew I had a couple of weeks that I can go a little higher calories and try to build a little bit of muscle tissue, which is only going to stimulate my metabolism by getting calories higher. And then when we start pulling down, if I've stored any fat, it'll be gone in a matter of days, probably, but a week at most.
Right. When you start first prepping, do you do like do you always have quite a bit of carbs in your diet? Do you rely on that? Digestive enzymes. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, they have a great set of digestive enzymes. Yeah, basically a high protein spectrum type of thing that we need.
Sorry, Tad, one more time. What was that question?
Oh, I was just wondering, what tactic do you use when you're prepping for a show? Like right now is a little different because you're already there. But when you're on your way, when you're off season and you start a prep process, some guys like Dave really loves ketogenic diets. I take multiple approaches depending on the athlete, but what approach works for you?
All I do really is I might make a carb reduction. I start increasing calories. I will never go keto. My body, everyone is different, like you just said. I'm very insulin sensitive because I stay lean in the off season. So my insulin sensitivity is super high. So my body works very well on carbs. So I do start pulling carbs back as I increase fasted cardio. My cardio is always steady state. I don't ever get into intervals. I don't feel like I need to. Calorie expenditure, keeping the food moving, keeping the blood moving, keeping the metabolism elevated. So steady state is what's always worked for me individually. But again, because I feel like I stay so lean in the off season because I'm such an active individual, I'm a hard worker. I work 12, 13 hours a day. I'm on my feet. I'm a trainer. I'm loading people's weights. Boom, 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 boom. I'm nonstop moving all day, so I feel like my metabolism stays very elevated. So I stay lean. I have to get really high calories in the off season, but I don't store a lot of fat. So for me, preps are normally pretty easy. After 13 years, Tad, I enjoy my food, but food is fuel.
Right.
So again, basically, that's the reason I get in such good condition. You ask me, because I don't have cravings. I don't have weaknesses. I don't give in to weaknesses. My mind is my most powerful asset because I'm willing to say no. I'm willing to do what it takes to make me the best that I can possibly be. And I believe without a strong mind, you'll never have a strong body and you'll never reach that elite because you're going to give in. If you give in, then that's just a weakness. It's a weakness, and I don't feel like I have that weakness, not in my mind.
I think it's important to note, you're absolutely right. I think all great champions and successful people in different industries, it's our ability to focus ourselves, our mind. It's the perspectives that we hold on ourselves and on our activities and the things that we want and do that really propel us into these higher states of being in this world, so to help us accomplish our goals and get all the things that we want. And so I 100% agree with you 100% that it is our mind the focus of our mind that allows us. And if you have a strength of that, if you have that kind of strength, then you can do whatever you want. It might take you time, but you can do whatever you want. I'm a good example of that. You're a great example of that. There's so many wonderful examples. I think everybody thinks that it kind of that if you're going to be good, if you're going to be a good pro, so to speak, or if you're going to be good at anything, that it will come kind of easy. That you'll know it because you're good at it. But I would say that it's oftentimes the reverse. That you become great. You're like a great piece of artwork isn't there. Some would say that it's there already and that the artist just removes the debris. That's one way to look at it. But I like to think that, it's the artist that lends their hand, their creativity and their ability to be able to see it first and then slowly create it. And so I think we do the same thing in bodybuilding and in our life. You have to have the vision for it first. And then you slowly remove the pieces and it becomes this wonderful creative process. So that's the way I see it.
No, I agree. It all starts in the mind. And, I can relate that back to like, you know, my strength as far as me not cheating on my diet, me doing what it takes. Back to my very first competition, 2006. The first guy that helped me, his name was Farmar Zagazada. He finished
Fairmar.
He did the 2005 USA.
Yeah, Fairmar, right?
Yeah, Farmar.
Great bodybuilder.
Great guy. He became my training partner out of default because I followed his ass around and racked his weights and loaded his weights. I was his bitch by choice to learn from the guy, because he was like somebody I was like, oh my God, I want to look like this. This is before I ever started competing. So 2006, when I started getting ready for my first competition, he's the first one that helped me. So he was a top national competitor. So everything he would tell me to do, I was following to the T, because that's what I thought everybody did. So I never cheated on my diet. 15 weeks, 2 hours of cardio a day, 15 weeks, an hour and a half weight training a day, cutting carbs back to where I'm eating turkey slices and celery. I mean, again, doing what it took, because I thought everybody did. And then we got there, and back in 2006, the only category, if you're a male, was men's bodybuilding. So back then we used to weigh in together. So I was a middleweight, 173 pounds, Tad. 2006, we weighed in, all the middleweights weighed in together. That's how it used to be. It used to be, okay, you're lightweight, right, middleweight, we weighed in together. Now it's all open. So you can't really look at your competitors like you could in the past.
I remember, I did that, yeah.
So my first show, 2006 Sacramento Bodybuilding Championships, November 2006. I'm weighing in with all the middleweights, 173 pounds. And as I'm seeing everybody, I'm Wade. My last name is Wade. I'm always last, Tad. So I'm watching everybody basically weigh in, and everybody that steps on the scale, when they strip down to the trunks, my confidence is rising, because I'm like, holy shit, I am fucking way more shredded. Holy shit, I am way more shredded. Holy shit. Like, I mean, it was like every competitor, I was like, how come everybody's not in the same condition I am? I didn't know people cheated on their diet, Tad. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know people did that. So that's a weak mind to me. So me, now I got them beat, because I am willing to do what maybe they aren't. And that's what set my standard right there, getting prepped by a national level competitor from day one with no inkling idea that people cheated on their diet.
It always surprises me.
I thought everybody was doing what I was doing.
Yeah, that always surprises me sometimes. I mean, I'm not surprised that people cheat on their diet, but it's surprising that people will do it so frequently, because they're only cheating themselves, especially when it comes to competition. Like, you just cheat yourself out of looking the best. But I get why it happens. I totally get why it happens. So what would you say to people? What do you say to some of your clients, or what do you say to people that say, how do you keep that strength of mind?
How bad do you want it?
Yeah, purpose. That's right.
How bad do you want it? I remember, I remember a lot of different things, but I remember George Farah telling me, every morning you wake up, tell yourself, how bad do you want to be in that first call out? How bad do you want to be in that first call out? So, I want it bad enough to do what it takes. So, I mean, shit, Dad. I mean, I'm 40 years old. So, I mean, I probably have 40 years to eat fucking cookies. Why do I need to do it during prep?
Right, exactly.
Seriously, it's not going anywhere. The food is still going to be there when I'm done.
Hey.
So why can't I wait 12 weeks? Why can't I wait 16 weeks? I mean,
Yeah.
what is the weakness that you can't wait until you're deciding to do it? So that's my thought. That's my thought right there. I might be a different individual.
No, I always had the same exact mental thought process. Look, I'm willing to wait. Like, they're still going to make chocolate cake when this diet's over. They're still going to have pizza. I'm not missing out on shit, but I know what I will miss out on then. I'll miss out on that first place. I'll miss out on that trophy. I'll miss out on me achieving what I want to achieve. Now that shit tastes a lot worse than my diet food.
So guess what? If you didn't give 100% effort, there's always the what if.
That's right.
If I do 100% of what I'm supposed to do, there's no what if. There's none, because I couldn't have done anything better. So that's my thought process. I don't want to live with the, what if I didn't do this? What would I have been? What if I didn't do this? Would I have won? I don't want to live with that. So I want to know I did everything, like no stone unturned, did every goddamn thing possible to be the best I can be. And then the outcome is out of my hands.
Yeah, then it's it's much easier to be content and be satisfied with what you've done. Much
Exactly.
easier.
I could not have done more.
Right. I think, and I actually tell a lot of my clients that this as well. I remind them, I tell them to remind themselves that as long as you've done everything you know to do, then you've done it all. That's called success. That's called success. Now, whether you get the outcome you want, it's like you said, it's not always in our control. We don't control all those aspects. But if you keep going, I know this as a sort of almost a rule of life, that you will pretty much, for the most part, probably outlast your competition, because most people are just going to give up way sooner than if you're willing to stick it out and keep going, then you'll make the improvements. You'll continue to show up consistently, and eventually you'll get those outcomes.
Exactly. I tell my kids, even at 5 and 7, sometimes we might not get the outcome that we think we deserve, but it doesn't mean we quit. That means we try harder and we try to be better.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to instill in my kids. The life is not fair. You might not always get the outcome, but you don't quit. You don't throw in the towel. You don't give up. You try harder and you try to become better. You overcome those things. You don't give into those things.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so now your children, how old are your children now?
My son turns 6 years old, June 28th.
Nice.
So he'll be 6. And my daughter's 7.5. They're 18 months apart.
Oh, wow. That's right. I remember when they were born.
Yep. And they're still so supportive. Every time I have them at a show, everybody knows who my kids are. They scream the loudest. Not to mention, I try to smile on stage, but when they're in the audience, I do, and it's real.
That was one of the things that I was glad that I was able to do. Was my daughter was able to see one of my competitions and be there, and it was kind of funny. I almost got all teared up on stage. I remember being up on stage and I heard her say, "That's my dad." I was like, man, that's just the best feeling. It's the best feeling to get that kind of recognition from your own children. Even though I always know that my daughter's always going to think I'm the best, but just to be able to have that in my experience is awesome. So so I know you know what that feels like.
100%.
Now, I'm curious, like how does your children see your bodybuilding career? Do they see it like you see it? Tell me how do they know? Do they even really, are they that cognizant of like what you do and all this stuff?
Oh, 100%. My kids, they both put on posing trunks and done posing routines, and I didn't even have to do. They just went in my drawer and pulled out my posing trunks.
Oh, shit.
So they're very cognizant of it. But one of the things, as younger kids, they don't say muscles. They don't say big. They say strong.
Right.
Muscles relate to strength. So all the kids at my kids' school, like, you must be the strongest daddy. That's what they say to me. And it's like, well, it's my job. I always try to say, that's my job, because I don't want them to think their dads are inferior. But that's kind of what it is. Like, I've had many parents come up to me and say, oh, you do have muscles, but not like JJ's daddy. Like things like that. And it's like, well, that's my job. I always try to say it's like, it's what I do. So my kids know that I'm strong. They do know what I do, and they do their poses. They're a complete part of it. They're a super big part of it, and they love it. My kids love to play around at my gym. I own my own gym. So they love to play around in my gym. My daughter loves climbing on things, so she's swinging from the monkey bars. She does at 7 years old. She does pull-ups better than most everybody else. Her hands are more calloused than most of the men, because she's always climbing on monkey bars. But that's what she loves, Dad. She loves coming to the gym with Daddy. I don't force her to come. I love that she's part of it, but they want to. And that's the thing. I love that. It gives me a sense of joy knowing that they are part of everything that I do. Everything I do.
That is one of the wonderful things that children offer us, is this wholeness in our life that you just can't get without them. There's nothing like it. I experienced that And I find it to be one of the most beautiful parts of my life. Matter of fact, I tell people that my favorite title that I've ever won in my life, so to speak, is the title of daddy, because that's the one that I treasure the most. When I hear it, I feel the best.
I agree. I mean, there's nothing like, even when things get chaotic and hectic, and obviously, we all know, they can be very frustrating at times. And then they come up and say, give you a hug, a kiss, say, I love you, daddy. And you forget about everything that they've ever done.
It all goes away.
It all goes away. So there is nothing like it. It's a different type of love that I never felt like I experienced until my kids were born. And I love my wife to death, but it's a different type.
Yeah, the best way I know how to describe it is it's the closest thing we really have in this life to unconditional love. That we don't have, at least most of us don't have conditions on our children in order to love them. They don't have to perform in some way for us to love them. We're going to love them. We may want them to perform certain ways, but they don't need to earn our love. At least I hope not for most people. But sometimes our friends and our families and our spouses and stuff, we tend to place some conditions. If we didn't, divorce rates wouldn't be 70% like they are. But for certain, we like to think that we love our spouses unconditionally. But generally speaking, I think that that's just the way we get enculturated into society. I try my best to model myself when it comes to my friendships and the love that I have for my friends and my family and my daughter and anybody in my life, anybody that I intersect with. I try my darndest to create an unconditional environment of love and of happiness that I can offer them. Because, and I got this, the best lessons I learned the most from my daughter, just observing my daughter as she was growing up and as she continues to grow up, and my dog. Because my dog, every time I come in the house, it's like he's wants to piss himself. He loves me so much, and it doesn't matter what happened 10 minutes ago. It doesn't matter that I was just in the house like 15 minutes ago. He just offers. He knows that he offers and offers and offers. And so I try to do the same kind of a thing in my life. It's a great lesson, because when I do that, I'm the beneficiary. I'm the one that feels good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, people want to, do things for other people, and then they're like, well, I didn't get recognition. Your recognition is the sense of feeling when you feel like you did something good. So you don't need personal recognition to have personal gratification. And that's what I say. I mean, you don't need to be recognized for doing something that should be done anyways.
Right. Well, I think I think it's probably the kind of culture that we live in, a very sort of validating. Everybody wants to be validated. It's one of the downsides of social media, in my opinion, is that it really teaches people to respond to validation. Likes, shares, all this stuff is just another form of recognition. Like, I want to be recognized for my efforts, who I am, and so they look for it in those kinds of things. And so while I think it's wonderful when you get it, I just think that it shouldn't be, your own sense of self shouldn't be contingent on it. You shouldn't be, you shouldn't need it to feel good about who you are. Some people, and I don't think most people would deny that is the case, but I know better. Because they get upset when something that was up.
You're 100% right. I mean, it kind of goes back to like bodybuilding. When I started in 2006. So there was no social media, which means what we did was to better ourselves, 100%. Because we weren't doing it for social gratification. I always say we were doing it for personal gratification. To know that you pushed yourself, to know that you did better today than you did yesterday. Just knowing you did it, not sharing with everybody that you did better than you did yesterday. You live with that yourself. So that's that personal gratification, what I call one word, pride.
I think it's good. I think we all need a sense of pride of who we are, because we're all awesome. So we don't always act like it, but we are. Tell me, what do you like? I'm going to switch gears slightly, but when you think of, and I always try to ask a couple of questions that sort of get at the heart of this. What would you call in your life today up to this point? What's been your biggest challenge, and Why?
Biggest challenge. Well, I had to overcome a lot of adversity when I was younger. I was, self-inflicted, but I was a troubled youth. I was a punk teenager, and that was due to a lack of self-confidence. So I was a follower. I followed the cool kids and did bad things to try to fit in with the cool kids because I was a follower. So the biggest thing I've ever overcome in my life is a lack of self-confidence. And you know what changed that? Weight training. So basically, weight training became a sense of a self-accomplishment, something that I did for myself that I felt good that I was doing. So now when I started building confidence, I no longer cared what anybody else thought about me because I felt good about what I was doing for the first time in my life. So weight training is what changed my life. So building self-confidence, which, you look at me and you hear me talk right now. Yes, I'm as confident as they come now, but I wasn't. And weight training is what did that for me. It gave me something that's like, yeah, I did that. So, a sense of self-accomplishment that I never felt before. And it's built a confidence that now I feel like I can do anything. And so that my biggest thing that I've had to overcome in life was a lack of confidence. And now, because I'm so happy with myself, now I can help so many other people. I always tell people, you can't help somebody until you help yourself.
It's true.
And so that's the biggest thing that I think I've had to overcome in my life. And
how did you do that? Was it just through weight training, or did you have to reteach yourself something or learn something new about yourself aside from going and applying your energy, your effort in the gym? Or maybe that was what it did it. What was it for you?
That was a lot of what did it for me. So again, I told you, I don't want to, obviously this could run too long if I go into everything, but I'm going to just touch base real quick on this. When, I was a punk teenager, I got in a lot of fights. I got in a lot of trouble. I did the wrong things to get noticed by the wrong people. And that's okay. It's not okay, but when you're a juvenile, you can get away with things. I turned 18 and the fight went pretty bad. And, I hurt the guy and ended up I ended up going to jail for a year. I had to do 8 out of 12 months. And that was a realization that I did not belong there. This was not who I was. So it was a realization that this is not where I want to be. So seriously, the day that I got out on my 19th birthday. I went to jail at 18 because, again, I was a punk teenager. I got out on my 19th birthday. I joined Gold's Gym. And Gold's Gym back then, basically, I know we have some Gold still, but Gold's Gym was where you learn gym etiquette. You learn courtesy. So, being a kid amongst men taught me etiquette. It taught me etiquette. And I no longer wanted to go down that path. That wasn't me. That was me trying to be somebody else. So the weight training and joining the gym is really what changed me, realizing I don't ever want to go back. I don't ever want to go back to jail. That's not me. That really wasn't me. So as I started changing, I started becoming that confident individual again, like I just talked about. But then really when I was 21, I met my wife, so we've been together over 18 years. April 21st was 18 years we've been together.
Wow.
And she's the one that instilled family, morals, and values in me. She is all about family, and I have a great family, but there wasn't much emotion into it. So everybody that's seen me now knows how big of an emotional teddy bear that I am, and that's because of her. She has instilled that family in me to where I will do anything for anybody that I care about. Anything. So that's kind of what found me. Like I found my confidence, and then I found her, and she instilled family and values into me that I never either had or never knew I had. And so those combined aspects of the confidence, plus knowing once I found her, I never wanted to lose her. I was not going to do anything bad. There's only one reason that I would ever go back to jail. And that's family protection. I mean, that's basically you F with my family, things are going to go bad. Other than that, would never do anything. You know, I mean, I would never put myself in that position. So those combined two things, the confidence, and then her realizing that I don't want to lose that. I have too much to lose for me to be negative. That's why I'm such a positive individual, because I don't want negativity to come in to get me down that path again, you know?
Right. That makes sense. I didn't know that. I've always known you as a very friendly, warm, and sort of honest kind of a person. And so I never, but it doesn't surprise me that people who go through trauma, they tend to be the ones who learn the most. They tend to be the ones.
Yeah. All self-inflicted. And it was something that I realized that this is not me. Again, I think a lack of confidence. There's a lot of kids that I help now, which I can relate to, because they're trying to fit in instead of trying to be themselves and find themselves. I didn't find myself until I found weight training. So that's why I'm telling you, that's what changed my life. That's what saved my life.
Why do you think it's I'm just curious from your perspective, why do you think children, you, but also other kids, when you see kids today, why do you think they want to fit in so bad?
Well, I tell you this, and this is just from my situation only.
Right.
And if my parents listen to this, which I normally share every podcast that I ever do with my parents, my dad was a union carpenter. He was out of town weeks at a time. He did what he had to do to provide. Back to my number one priority, right? To provide.
Right.
So he did what he had to do to provide. And my sister was 4 years older than me. So my mom had to kind of provide for my sister. So that left me to run with peers. And that's where I started falling in with the wrong peers, because the cool kids, I grew up in a bad area, Tad. I mean, like a ghetto area, a bad area, though I was the minority as a white kid. So basically I tried to fit in with the cool kids by doing the wrong. I needed that peer approval. So in my situation, I think it's, again, 100% my fault, everything I did. I don't want anyone to ever think that I blame my parents for anything. But I ran with peers because maybe I wasn't disciplined, you know?
Yeah, I guess sometimes I mean, we all come to this from our own unique perspectives, and I was lucky in many respects that I had an identical twin brother growing up with, and I never felt peer pressure at all. I didn't care. I always had a group, right? Like I had my own group that was always going to love me and support me and have my back. But not everybody has that. They sometimes feel alone. And so I'm always interested in trying to asking that question of like, what is it that, because I'm sure that it's different for other kids too, like why they want to fit in, or why do they feel compelled to maybe make choices that they wouldn't normally make. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I was a little bit alone. You know, that's why I feel blessed. Our kids are 18 months apart. Right now, they are best friends. I think it's going to stay that way. I've heard from a lot of people that have kids. Normally, when they're 3-4 years apart, it's like they're always fighting. You know, they're one kid is here at an older grade level. Now they're running with different friends, and they don't want to hang out with their little brother. So, and that's how it was with that's how I feel like it was kind of with me. My sister was 4 years older. You know, I mean, basically, I was in junior high when she was in high school. Completely different time. My kids are only 1 grade apart right now. I mean, they're best friends, and I think it's going to stay that way.
Growing up, I remember there was one thing. I knew other identical twins that weren't as close as my brother and I. My brother and I were very close, and my mother. I believe that the parents have so much influence in this arena, because my mother, I can't remember a time when my brother and I would get into an argument, and my mother would say to us, "Boys, just remember, there may come a day where your brother's the only person that you could turn to. Treat him like he's your best friend. He may be all you got someday." And so she really enculturated this idea that we needed to take care of each other, that he was always going to be there and I was always going to be there for him. That we were supposed to be best friends. That we were supposed to love each other. Remember, to this day, we've never struck each other. I've never hit my brother. Now we've gotten in arguments. We cursed at each other, but I never went to bed angry with my brother. We always reconciled shit. And even today, if there's one guy I know, like I could just show up and it's going to be okay, it's my brother. If I need help, or if there's something going down, or if someone's going to got my back, man, no questions asked. It's my brother. And same with me. I tell people this. I used to tell people this in high school and college. You don't like my brother, you don't like me. Period. It's just all there is to it. So I try to, my children, I would have the same kind of, no matter what age group differences are. So I believe that parents have such a strong input, because I know I hear my mother's voice in my head. Your brother's your best friend. Like, take care of your brother, love your brother. Your brother's your best friend. And to this day, that's kind of what we see. He's my executor on my estate. He's my everything. Even when I was married, both my wives always knew that my brother gets a pass on everything. Period. Yeah. He's part of me. Literally. So I think that your children just may be best friends for life, as long as you support that and as long as you encourage that. I think you'll find that. And I'll tell you, when I used to say this for years, it was my biggest blessing that I always had a best friend. I can go into school, and no matter what everybody else was doing, I can go, I don't care, I'm doing this because I know this is what I want, and I got at least one best friend.
I love it. I love it.
Before I end this session on the podcast, I always ask this question. I kind of already know the answer to the question, but I want to hear you say it. What's your biggest blessing in your life?
Yeah. Obviously, kids are my biggest blessing, but they came from my wife. So again, my wife is the person that changed my life. She's my partner. People always think that I quote a Justin Bieber song, dude. The grass ain't always greener; it's greener where you water it.
Amen.
So basically, again, she's my partner, man. She's my soulmate. She's the one that gave me my best blessings, which are our kids together. And so, that's what I got to give her credit. All the time. She does so much for me. She's so supportive. It took her many years to become supportive of the bodybuilding, just because of what I do and who I'm around. But now we have that 100% trust issue. No issue. We have 100% trust. So now, she knows that everything I do is to provide for the family. So I had to travel for the last few weeks in a row. She has to take care of the kids all by herself. We do a nighttime process normally together. She had to do it on her own. But she knows it's in the best interest of the family. I got to take advantage of this while I can. So she doesn't give me any grief anymore. She's as much part of it as everything. So, my family is my blessing. But it started with my wife that gave me my blessings as my children. And that's my legacy that I want to leave.
The funny thing is I love hearing stuff like this. And I ask this because I like ending my podcasts and my sessions with people on something really positive, something really warm and wonderful. And also reminding that everything is about gratitude in this life. When you start with gratitude, man, you just get all the good stuff. It just starts coming to you. And it's under the assumption that you recognize, and I know you recognize this, that none of us are a fucking island. We don't do our life alone. We do it with the support and the love and the help of so many other people, literally thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people for some. And some of us have very, very particular people that help us in very powerful ways, like you and your wife and your children, your mom, your dad, all the wonderful people who made you who you are today. And so I love reassessing this and reaffirming this. I know it in my life. Powerful people. I stand on the backs of literally thousands of wonderful people in the industry and also in my life and my family that have made me who I am. I take no credit on my own for anything that I've ever done or anything that who I am. The only thing I can take credit for is my recognition of it. And I recognize it all. So I love hearing it from you. So thank you. Well, Josh.
Thank you, Tad.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thank you for spending the extra time with me today. Thank you I know you got a meal in. We got a chance to really catch up a little bit. I'm really excited to see you come to Chicago. Now that I know it's going to be, I'm excited to see the continually new improved version of yourself on stage. And how would you want people to get a hold of you? Give people some places where they can get a hold of you, and if they want to reach out to you.
I mean, I don't have time. My work schedule's so busy. I don't really have time for the YouTube channel, so I don't have that. My best way is just basically Instagram at IFBB Pro Josh Wade. That's where I try to put out content, maybe informative stuff. People can keep up to date with my progress. That's pretty much my social media outlet is Instagram at IFBB Pro Josh Wade. Perfect.
Well, Josh, you are an awesome champion. You are continually making your physique better and better and better. I am impressed, not only as a fan, but as a friend and as a judge. And so I truly appreciate your friendship over the years. You're just one of those really wonderful people that I always know if I see Josh, he's going to give me a smile. He's going to give me a warm handshake and a hug. And I know we're good friends. So I thank you for that.
100%, Tad. I thank you for the same, brother.
My pleasure, man. And good luck. I'll see you here in Chicago in a couple of weeks. But good luck. Keep up. Good luck with your training in the meantime. And I just know I'm going to see you on that Olympia stage this year as well.
I guarantee it.
All right, cool, man. Well, thanks again for being on the show. I will don't hang up so I can close out with us, but don't hang up. But thanks again for the time, and man, this is going to be great. I'm going to have you on again when you win your first pro show.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Handle your high with Tadayoshi.